Frost, founded in New York City in 2004 by creative director Lisa Salzer, Lulu Frost is known for his blending of statement vintage and modern influences. The brand's name hails from Lisa's childhood nickname Lulu, combined with the last name of her maternal grandmother, Elizabeth Rock Frost, who worked in the estate jewelry business for decades. Today, Lulu Frost continues to reimagine traditional antique and vintage designs through a unique modern lens. Lulu Frost specializes in both costume and fine jewelry with a wide price range to cater to varied clientele. The brand's ethos is simple and powerful, tradition modernized. This celebrity favorite accessory brand is best known for its Plaza collection, inspired by the original hotel room numbers and letters from New York City's Plaza Hotel that Lisa bought in 2005 when the hotel was renovating. The original numbers were being discarded, and Lisa altered them into a wearable necklace and charms, later creating molds of the originals to continue bringing them to her clientele. She's received awards such as the Gen Art 2005 Best New Accessory Designer Award, CFDA member in 2013, Accessories Council member in 2024. She's had partnerships like Alexander Wang, Lulu provided runway jewelry in 2005, DKNY advertising campaign jewelry in 2008, and West Elm custom Lulu designed jewelry boxes, trays, and storage cabinets. Welcome back to another episode of Live the Glamour Chats. I am here with Lisa Salzer from Lulu Frost. You are the founder, creator of this amazing brand that's been around for so long, and to have this type of longevity really says a lot about who you are. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so honored to be on your wonderful show. And I'm a big fan of yours too. And you just told me it's so interesting, but we both started some of our key career moments back in 2004. So, yeah, it's been 21 amazing years and hopefully lots more to come.
I think so for sure. I'll jump right in and get started because I think there's so much to talk about with your brand and what you have done through these years. Let's just go into like the day one early stages of starting. You started while you were in college, your brand.
That's right. Yes, I actually incorporated my company my senior year of college. I was 21 years old and I had finished some of my credits early. So I was like, what am I going to do? I'm done with college. Let me start a company. So instead of getting a job and doing, corporate recruiting, I just decided to throw my hat in the ring and try to create this brand, Lulu Frost. And my parents were really supportive. They said, Lisa, try it for a year. If it doesn't work after a year, then you can get a job in art history world or, the gallery art world. And so I kind of jumped in senior year when I was pretty young and didn't know what I was really getting into, but I'm so, so glad that I did. I really am.
And that's amazing to start and to take that risk so young, and say like to trust yourself or people around you to trust you. Lulu Frost, the name, it comes from your grandmother?
It's a part from my grandma and part my nickname. So when I was a little girl, my sister used to call me Lou or Louie or Luca or some variation of Lou. So when she had kids, I was 18 when I got my first nephew, who was the best gift. I was so excited to become an aunt. We decided to call me, my name would be Auntie Lulu. So that's when Lulu came about when I was about 18. And then Frost is from my grandma's last name. Her name was Elizabeth Frost. So that's how the hybrid name kind of came to be. And it's stuck. So it's working out pretty well.
I love it. I feel like it feels feminine, and I think well, I'll let you talk about your jewelry, but how did you start designing it? It is a jewelry accessory brand.
Yeah, so we do jewelry. We do some accessories. Primarily, we're a jewelry brand, and we love making both costume and fine jewelry. You could call it fashion and fine jewelry. I love kind of creating a big spectrum of price points. So really, everybody can have a little Lulu Frost, which makes me very happy. But I really started making jewelry when I was 14. Little known fact. I'm from Long Island, which is where I live now. And I was always creative. I started making these cool, like leather rings with little beaded flowers on them. And a local store, which is still open here in Huntington, New York. It's called Sidoni Gallery. It's very awesome. Sidoni. She actually picked up my rings. She said, sure, bring a few of them in. So I was overwhelmed. I was so happy to be 14 years old and creating rings. I remember we sold them for $28 each. And they were just charming and sweet and she sold a lot of them. So I always loved this idea of femininity, as you mentioned, and adornment and flowers and taking inspiration from nature, stars and moons, florals, leaves, trees. They're always very inspirational to me many years later. And it's interesting that the first thing I started with were little seed beaded flower rings. Since then, as the identity of Lulu Frost formed more, it really is about vintage and antique jewelry because my grandmother worked in that industry. So again, a lot of that vintage jewelry is related to nature, Art Nouveau, the flowing lines, the vines, the florals. Deco is very geometric, but it also has elements of stars and moons in it. So nature has sort of always been at the center of what I'm very inspired by.
Love that. That's funny because I was going to connect it to a little bit of like the 90s fashion inspiration. And I feel like you take that too. Um,
Yes, I love that you noticed that. Thank you. That's
um,
very me.
would you say growing up there in Long Island? I mean, I think you touched on this a little bit, but growing up there, it being around nature and then the 90s, that
Mhm.
now is having such a comeback. I mean, I feel like the 90s, no one could let go of it. It was such a
So
special.
good. The most amazing decade. So chic, so stylish.
So
Can't let it
like
go.
you still bring that into the collections today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm born in 1982, so I was in middle school and high school in the 90s. I graduated high school in 2000. So I was in the middle of this very cool time. Our role models that we were looking at were Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, that minimal, so cool, just very classic, timeless style. And then we had Gwen Stefani being amazing and, this kind of strong woman, strong girl, power energy, Alanis Morissette, all these cool rockers and stylish people were around. Then you also had the Juicy Couture matching tracksuits, which everybody wore in my high school. And it was fun. It was a time where people cared a lot about fashion, actually. Now I see my niece and she's gorgeous anyway, whatever she's wearing, but these kids roll into school in plaid flannel pants, like pajama pants and a big sweatshirt. And that's fun. I get that. I think that has actually a lot of style too. But we dressed. I remember I would wear destroy boots, like this 6-inch boot every day to school with Agnelli jeans or some kind of cool like Lucky jeans or something. And we did dress and we cared about it. So I think growing up in Long Island in particular, fashion was pretty important. And luckily we had access to some cool malls and some cool boutiques that are, one of them, my favorite, used to be in Huntington. It was called Rexer Parks. And Mrs. Rexer, gave me a great education about fashion. She had Galliano and Vivienne Westwood in this boutique here in Huntington, New York, Agnes B and some Japanese designers. So we really got a cool education about 90s fashion. And
Okay.
I love that aesthetic.
I mean, to be around that and to be able to go into a store that has that right there is incredible. And I'm sure it like influenced a lot of your designs. Were you designing by hand? Like how were you actually putting the pieces
Yeah.
together?
Well, I was gonna say like the 90s aesthetic of nature, also like the yin yang, the sun, the moon, like those classic charms. We used to wear them on a little black choker with a small charm, all of that influenced me so much. And when I started designing Lulu Frost, it was more of a combination. At that time, I was up in New Hampshire where I went to college, and I would go to the vintage like estate sales and the vintage malls that were all around New Hampshire and Vermont. And I remember looking through this, essentially lots and lots of junk. Some people could call it junk, others treasure, from different dealers. And I saw this buckle, this Czechoslovakian buckle for a belt. And it brought back all these memories of the store my grandmother managed and these antique jewelry pieces that I used to see as a kid. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I could transform this buckle into earrings, and take it apart and connect it with chain and all that." So it was a very interesting moment where I realized, oh, the beautiful things that I used to see that were out of reach in terms of cost. Oh, I can find it at an antiques mall under $20 or something, transform it and create this exciting new piece of jewelry. So a lot of that vintage and antique, estate kind of aesthetic came into my work. And the first pieces I made were actually reworked Czechoslovakian buckles or shoe buckles from the Victorian period, really old pieces from the 1880s, 1920s. I would rework them into something wearable, and the response was good. So I kept going with that.
I love that. And taking something and like now everyone, like people try to do those things. I feel like then it's so authentic.
Thank you.
Like you really were digging deep to find these pieces and put them together and create something really magical from it,
Yeah,
which
it
takes,
sounds like magic.
yeah. You studied art history. So
Yeah.
would you say that had a role in your designing and your
A
process?
million percent. Yeah, I loved studying art history. My concentration was on Asian art. I love Buddhist Himalayan art, and sort of Chinese incredible art and Japanese, so and Indian. A lot of that influenced just my love of decoration and, beauty of adornment. But specifically, art history helped me love antiques, even more than I already did from my experience being in the shop with my grandma. So that kind of looking back towards this older world and the language that they use to convey beauty is timeless. It's still so beautiful. So I thought the quickest way to give this to the people is use the actual antique thing, and just give it some fresh elements, like make it an unexpected placement. Instead of a belt buckle, it could become an earring. Or let's take old locks and keys, which are obviously so beautiful when they're from the 1900s, and it makes you think of a time where people would spend time to create beauty in everyday objects. So, I started definitely being much more interested in the past, and I think the art history degree was a big part of that because it honed my eye.
Right.
It's trained to look at art and understand it. So I think that trained eye from Dartmouth, which I'm very lucky I had the time to learn there, it helped me to right away see what was beautiful in a sea of junk. I could see lots of stuff, and then four or five things would stand out to me, and I would purchase them and create them into something new.
Oh, that's amazing. I never thought of it in that way. It gave you like this a new perspective, a new way to look at something outside of what anybody else maybe just sees laying around.
Exactly. And I think that's why I got lucky when I found the plaza numbers, because I'm sure you're going to chat with me about that. But it's so interesting because they were not supposed to be jewelry. And at that point, I had been looking at things that were not typically jewelry, like door knockers and drawer pulls and hardware, really, things that were used in old furniture. And it occurred to me when I started to see big house numbers how cool that would be if you could wear it on a chain and, represent something personal. But at the time they were like this big, I was seeing huge house numbers. So when I came across the plaza numbers, and, that's another story, I think that my trained eye jumped in and said, that's gorgeous, that's beautiful, that's old world. There's something timeless about that. You know, what is that? And it piqued my interest.
Really go deeper into it than just it being some number, in a location.
Exactly. Yeah. How could we wear it to adorn ourselves? I think a lot about personal adornment and, I'm interested in multicultural adornment across the world, how people dress and what it means. It's really symbolic. Jewelry in particular, even just a simple pair of hoop earrings, it's a symbol of, oh, I'm paying attention to myself. I'm putting a little extra effort in. I'm taking pride in my appearance. All sorts of symbols come through with jewelry. So I really like to speak through that language.
What would you say, like so you had this creative side, obviously very creative art history. Your grandmother was that you've been around it.
Right.
Now to turn that into a business, what was that like for you? Where were some of the challenges? What were some of the good parts, bad parts?
That's still the hard part.
I
21 years later, you know.
the creative. It's funny because I talk to a lot of creative people that have businesses, and it seems to be that there's always this hard balance to have
Yeah,
because you're creating amazing things, and now you have to bring a business side into it because obviously you want to be successful. And it's
right.
like, how do I do that if my mind wants to just see the pretty the pretty things that exist?
Yeah.
What would you say you did?
Yeah, I think, the need to become good at the business side sort of overran my need to just my desire to just be creative because I wanted to be able to keep doing it and to sustain it beyond, just making five things and selling them. So I think one other passion I developed was entrepreneurialism. And that's definitely one of my huge passions in life is the challenge and the satisfaction that comes with trying to create something and then seeing it become real. So at first, some of my goals were to get the jewelry into some stores. And at Dartmouth, there was a little boutique that started carrying, at that time I was making belts, also a lot of very kind of preppy, grow grain belts that I was sewing. And I got them into a little boutique there. And it was so amazing and fun for me to see something I had created with my hands in a store that I was a shopper at. So that was motivating for me. But I think when it came time to really choose to do Lulu Frost for, as a real go, not just a hobby, I decided to take a business program at Dartmouth, which helped me a lot because as an art history major, I had no experience with Excel or really even the terminology of, corporate finance or accounting or any of that. And it's like nails on a chalkboard to me still, but at least I did it and I understood it as, as I needed to. So I think if you're trying to start a creative endeavor, it's almost as important to have the business side. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be great at it, but I think you've got to try to understand it. And then hopefully you find people down the road that are good at that and love that side that can take that part of the business off your hands. But it's important to know that language at the very least.
That's definitely because I mean that's what makes it thrive, I think, is that you can have something
Yeah.
amazing, beautiful, but you also have to know how to run it. So in
Yeah.
the first few years of building this business, what were some of the things that you were doing, bringing it to boutiques? I know that you did, I mean, you've had some amazing collaborations with
Thank you.
like J. Crew is one of them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, interestingly, so the first store that really picked me up was Barney's in New York, and that's
I
amazing, and crazy. I was 21. But the way it happened is really what we were just talking about. I had the creative aspect. I was already doing something unique. I was making jewelry out of old drawer pulls and escutcheons and hardware with gemstones, and that was fresh at that time. And I realized that I really wanted to get into Barney's. That was to me like the coolest. And I thought I might have a shot. And that's the thing, you've got to try. You never know unless you try. So there's this funny Wayne Gretzky quote that always makes me laugh because it's, why am I quoting a hockey player? But it's genius. He says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
that's
like you gotta throw your puck at the shoot your puck at the goal. You've got to. So I tried for Barney's and there's always got to be some way to get in because you're in a sea of many people trying to get in. I happen to know another jewelry designer who sold her work there. And I asked her a favor. I said, it was actually Tracy Zabar. She's an amazing lady of the Zabar's grocery store in the city. Her son was my friend from school. So you got to use what you have. If you have a connection to someone, don't be shy. Kindly ask if you can have someone's time. So I said to her, Tracy, I want to get into Barney's. How do I do it? And she was amazing. She really was my first mentor. She rattled off many things like read Women's Wear Daily, read Daily Candy, stay involved, stay aware, know who the editors are at Vogue, everything. And I was scribbling as she was telling me. And I said, finally, I actually cold called Barney's one day, left them a message, and they did call me back. So that was the luck. I explained a little bit about what I did with vintage. Once I had that appointment, I called Tracy again. I said, what am I going to do? Now I have the appointment. And she just walked me through it. She said, be prepared, have velvet trays, pin the jewelry on the trays so when you get there, it's not flying everywhere. You won't have any time. She said, you're going to go into a room and the buyer will be there. Write that. So I tried I tried to make myself as prepared as I could be.
yeah.
And that is how I still act 21 years in. I try to be as prepared as I can. And then luck takes a part and you hope that it goes well. But being prepared is really a helpful thing. So,
Such a good tip forever. I mean, and to know to ask people and to talk and
yes.
to communicate what you're trying to do because you would have never known, or you might have taken
Um,
so much longer. to just get in that seat.
Exactly. Yeah, I might never have gotten in, and I think that's it. Leverage your network. If you're so lucky to have people that are remotely connected to what you want to do, ask them everything they'll tell you. Sometimes the best gems are given just through free advice of people that care about you. And it may not even be someone you know. You could just cold call people and say, "Hey, I'm looking to get into this. Can you help me out?" That really helps.
I know I say that now. It's funny because I mean, we were both in a time when there wasn't a way to really
Right.
find information. I mean, like you said, if you were on Women's Wear Daily, if you were getting that, like it was a constant search and figuring out. Your brain was working hard.
Yeah.
Information.
So,
And I think sometimes now, I even myself, I'm like, it's a little overwhelming because the information is so right here, like
right.
you can go of social media, LinkedIn, you can go on all these different platforms and
Yes.
find some of these people that I think I mean, I spent months, trying to figure out who
Yeah,
editor or what this person was.
exactly.
Now I say when people are watching, I'm like, use what's right here in front of you. There's so much you
We
can.
have so much, and you're right. There's a certain level of overwhelm right now. It's like there's too many brands to know. There's too many, there's too much going on there. So I've tended to kind of narrow my focus in even more and just concentrate on a more slim kind of net. I guess I cast my net a little bit slimmer, but that's not really, maybe that's not even true because I love Pinterest and I'm always like exploring and just wanting to be inspired. Um, but it is hard because there's so many people out there competing for the same
Same.
small amount of time that we all have, and it is overwhelming. It's so chock full, this whole network that we're in. But as you just mentioned, it can also be a really great benefit if you find the right people and reach out and nurture some of those relationships, to begin what you want to do. But my best advice, and this is really simple, just rolling it back, is just begin
Yeah.
because you never know what challenges are going to come up until you're there. And the challenges won't come unless you start somewhere, you know? Like I remember I had been making jewelry. I had a little website at the time. It was 2005, and there was no e-commerce yet. Very few sites were e-commerce enabled. I did not have a click and buy on my site. And then this website, Daily Candy, which is, you probably remember, it was
Yeah.
so amazing. Yeah, they found my site because that was their job. They were looking for sites. They said, "Lisa, we want to feature your lulufrost.com, in a week." And I said, "I'm not ready. I don't even have a way to take credit cards."
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's that magic of being a beginner that
You
and
can,
and that's the excitement of being an entrepreneur because you don't know exactly when the opportunities will come, but when they come, you're going to figure it out. Okay, how do I get a credit card reader? And this is before Google, really.
exactly. Where it was easy to do like a Venmo or like
Yeah. There was nothing. So I called my bank that I had a bank account with, and they said, "Well, we can provide you a credit card machine." So it was like just in being in the dark, but feeling my way through it one step at a time. So really the best advice for someone who wants to start something they're passionate about is just start. However you can start, begin, because then it will unfold and the answers will start to show up.
I love that. And I think
Thank
there's
you.
that hesitation, but you got to trust it in some way. And somehow it does get figured out like that. And then the opportunities, you kind of open up this energy for opportunities to flow in because
Exactly, 100%. It is magic,
it
if we
really
want to go there.
I know I love that. I
Yeah.
believe in that. And I know some people are, like, but I think that in business, there's probably more magic than anything else.
There has to be magic because you're creating something that's not been done before, oftentimes. I mean, think of that people have created the internet. Like it's magical. It's incredible. And I think one thing I'm really happy about is that there's much more comfort in the conversation now about talking about magical things or energy and being intentional about what you're putting out there. And that really affects everything. Athletes say it too. I remember I used to play a lot of softball, and my dad would always say, visualize hitting the ball.
Mm.
And you do have to. You see your bat connecting and that big fat softball flies off, and it's like it's that foresight and that mental readiness. You put yourself ready for that. And then, as you said, the door opens and you've sort of made a statement and a claim to the universe or whatever. I'm doing this. I'm ready. I have a website out there, come what may, whatever the first step is, it's a signal that you're ready for more and more comes.
Allowing it to come in. That's so
Exactly.
good.
Exactly. A receiving and it takes a moment. I think what we need to generate more or what we can work on is trusting that we're going to receive when we open that door, because sometimes you say, okay, I'm open, and you want it to flow in right at that second, but it takes a minute for the word to spread. So I think just the trusting and the knowing that if we declare that we want something and we want to put it out there, then we'll be ready to receive, as you put very well.
What would you say, like over these, I mean, 20, 21 years of doing this, obviously there's so many, I mean, we could probably talk forever, but there's so much to it.
Mhm.
After you got into the Barneys and Colette, I think it's
Yeah, Colette in Paris. Oh, that was so cool. Yeah,
one. Yeah, I remember that myself, and it was like
sure.
they had like the coolest brands.
It was so cool. When we got in there, I couldn't believe it. I was like, we're not cool enough for this place. But it was rad. Yeah, that was great.
Says a lot about your brand and like who you are and what you were creating to be, from
Thank you.
there, to take that, to take it in. Um,
Thanks.
as you moved and you had these opportunities come up and then really amazing collaborations, how did like how did you get from there to now, let's say?
Yeah. Well, so much has happened in the world. We've all been through it together collectively, which is kind of amazing that we all know what we're talking about when we say the world pause. So the business was going great. I did a wonderful 5-year collaboration with J. Crew, as you said, and that was one of the best learning times in my life. I learned so much about overseas production, quality levels, just using different materials that I hadn't been able to use before. Um, like resin. I love unusual materials mixed with precious materials. I think it makes it really fun. So I've had my eyes opened, again and again. But when COVID happened, it was so hard to keep my team in the city. We couldn't keep our lease after a time in the city. So we had to shut down our office. And I had 6 employees working in literally every different borough of Long Island, of New York. We had someone in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Long Island, someone in the Bronx, someone in New Jersey. And we couldn't sustain it because we had to ship the product to be photographed by one person, then to someone's house to be sent out. Someone had to make it and we lost the money in the shipping right there. So the writing was on the wall. We had to kind of
Mm.
fold inward and go within. And just so happened at that time, I reconnected with my first boyfriend from childhood. I was going through a divorce. I was done with the divorce and actually decided to have a child with my first love. And it was like a whole
Wait, I just
COVID thing. Yeah. Like a COVID
yeah.
movie. That was wild. So it was this perfect time to pause my business. I kept it going enough to sustain myself. And, I would love vintage jewelry buying anytime. I hope I have the privilege to do that my whole life. I love going on the hunt and looking for things. So, I was still selling to private clients and whatnot. But I actually, for the first time in maybe 16, 17 years, I stopped doing e-commerce for a little while. About 9 months, we paused on the e-commerce, and that was good. I was basically on maternity leave, so I had my son, who is the most amazing miracle. He's 4 years old now, and really transitioned into life out here, and really had no staff for a while. So what I call I'm working on right now is Lulu Frost 3.0 because 1.0 was what you know of from the J. Crew years and all that. 2.0 was my little hiatus where it was sort of recovering from COVID and childbearing and all that. And now 3.0 is where we are now. And it's this very exciting, fresh new time where I just feel revived. I feel excited again to create. I've just designed our first new costume jewelry collection in 6 years, which I'm so excited about. So it's like it's basically maybe a 40-piece collection. And it's all based on zodiacs because we've done really well over the years with zodiacs. So each sign will have its own cool, like hero pet charm pendant, like Scorpio, Taurus, everybody. And then there's like accompanying beautiful jewelry, star shapes, moons again. It's very classic Lulu. It's like looking to nature, looking to the night sky for inspiration. So that's sort of where I'm at now, where a lot of exciting things are happening. We're opening a retail store, a flagship store in Huntington. And Huntington is this amazing town. It's like a slice of New York City. It's like a mini 10-block radius of New York City.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited to open a store. It's going to be called Lulu Frost and Company. And we're going to have other brands as well, which makes me so excited to create a new community, a new collaboration around our jewelry. So we'll have some really cool denim brands, clothing brands, and a lot of local creators. So a wonderful ceramicist who creates gorgeous, unbelievable porcelain ceramics and, teacups and platters. She's incredible. And then a local clothing maker, just awesome local people who are very talented. So we're excited to open the store that feels like a community gathering place.
I just did, and it didn't even air yet. It'll probably air, maybe it might be the week right before yours does. But it's so funny that you're talking about opening a boutique
Mhm.
because you were talking about how boutiques are we feel like coming back.
Yes, I
Big.
feel like that too.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I know, in there was boutiques were a thing. I mean, I had a boutique, and then it was a weird
Yeah,
time. And but I feel like now people are looking again to touch and feel and
yeah,
experience, more than just like there's just so much on, a computer screen and
yes,
the order, like it's great, easy to access everything and find brands and things like that. But I think everyone's looking to go back to that feeling again. And the fact that you're bringing in some local, I think that even more is what we're looking for is to not be way out there or somebody that we don't know making who knows where. It,
yeah.
we're bringing it back.
Exactly. Bring it back. And I think, the time where we were sort of isolated during COVID, it made us yearn more and more to be back together, number one, with people. Thank God we're getting back to that now and people seem a little bit more normal than at first everybody was like shy after COVID because we weren't used to being with people and it affected us all. So I think people have a strong desire to be in person with one another again, just as friends would be in a place to gather. And then, like you said, in terms of shopping, people want to see so much, touch, feel, experience, have their senses activated. Like we have some amazing incense, my favorite incense in the world from Santa Fe. I'm bringing that into the boutique, and it feels like it really is something I've loved for 10 years, and I'm so excited to share it with people that come to this boutique, so they can get an experience of what Santa Fe smells like to me. It's this beautiful incense, and I'll have a candle line and some great stationery, just things I actually use in my life. And I want to share it with them. And so the boutique experience, I think, is about to have a big sense of discovery for people. And like you said, we can find everything here and you can discover, and there's a certain satisfaction to finding something great online, but knowing that you're finding something great when you hold it is
Mhm.
very different than like hoping it's going to work out,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Different. I feel like when you get to take that home in that moment,
Yes,
it's a totally different feeling than like, I mean, yeah, I love getting a package, but
right.
there's something about that feeling of actually walking away with something, getting home, looking at it, getting to use it in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
the immediacy of like the fun of when you go to the grocery store and you pick out the beautiful fruit, it's so aesthetic. It's so tangible and you feel like you're choosing. And I think people are much more talented and stylish than they're often given credit for. And so I really hope that this boutique makes them remember that. Like they're going to have a sense of discovering from multiple brands. I think we'll probably have 15 brands to just start off, and then more will grow over time. And the idea also is that the brands will rotate. Like some will, st the local people I hope will stay for a long time because I want them to have a presence in the shop ongoing. But some of these other brands that I could see rotating for a couple seasons or whatnot, so that the shopper remembers that their choices are important, and that they can be the help direct what's going to be in the store. Like I'm going to take a lot of their feedback. What are you guys into? What's exciting? What's a cool brand, and bring it in. So I'm really lit up about it.
Do you
Very
feel
happy.
like having, I mean, I know it's 3.0 and I like that. I like that how you're reinventing it in a way,
Yes.
but still sticking true to yourself as well, which it seems like actually maybe even more because I feel like you you've always had this eye, you created it in jewelry,
Thank you. Yeah.
bringing it into even, what you looked at and saw as art or creative or pieces. Now you're able to look at other people's stuff and bring that in too. So it's pretty
Yeah.
easy to be able to do that.
I think it's a long-term dream like coming true because I remember I used to say to my best friend, who if she watches this will laugh, but I 30 years ago I wanted to have a boutique that was all different creators within it and it would be like a gathering for designers and I just saw it so long ago and now it's kind of coming to fruition. So I really am so excited. The jewelry is the core, and Lulu Frost jewelry is always the same concept. It's tradition modernized. So, I'll still have all my vintage charms and our Plaza bar and my new collections. So that's at the core of the store, and that will certainly be there. But it's so much more. Like Lulu Frost is about the hunt and having an eye and finding something cool when you went to Tulum, before it was cool, or Nepal when I was 17, it's about that eclectic kind of dare to be different, maybe style, because, I've always been a little bit outside the box in terms of my style, and it's something I'm proud of. Like in high school, you get most likely to blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. I got the award for like best style in our high school, which was so important to me because I I loved what everybody wore and I would wear a lot of it, but then I would go a different level, go a little bit different. And I'm really excited in this boutique. I feel like I have more freedom there to show people what my eyes really like,
Yeah.
and give them a sense of my taste for everything from a vase for a bud vase for some flowers to really cool denim that some girl out in Montauk hand dip dyes herself. So it's fun. Yeah.
I have to get out. I'm gonna have
You
to
have
get.
to come.
Do you have a opening or when you're gonna?
Hopefully like a soft opening early October and middle October open if all goes well, knock on wood. We're in the process now and that's another side is like the design aspect of the store is so much fun for me. Like I love picking the lighting and the paint colors and
So
just trying to create a welcoming and happy ambiance for the people that come in.
that is so exciting. Are you gonna do e-commerce too tied to it or?
Yeah, yeah, probably down the road because we still have our website lulufrost.com is great and I don't see a reason why we wouldn't, carry the same brands that are in the store. So
Just
hopefully.
yeah, so other people can see it. I
Yeah.
I want to touch on the plaza just a little bit because I think that that's so part of your brand. I know you talked a little bit about it, but let's talk about that. And you said you're gonna have that in the store as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we're going to have a big Plaza bar. So, the Plaza collection has been incredible since 2005. It's really 20 years strong, which is so awesome. And it's this iconic New York place that has such all the feelings that we want to feel, like nostalgia, beauty, grandeur, but also somehow accessible. Everyone knows about the Plaza. It's not like a secret, but it makes you feel special when you even talk about it. So I just got lucky. It was the stars aligning, the day that I found those numbers. But like we talked about, I had this eye to say those are old hardware things with crazy, nails sticking out of the back of them. I can transform them into jewelry. So that moment was so pivotal because it encompasses and encapsulates what I'm trying to do with Lulu, which is rework something that's not necessarily jewelry, but should be jewelry. And it has such symbolism for individuals. So each person around the world, it's a universal thing, can connect to a number or a letter, whether it's their initial or their children's or a lucky number for their birthday or their life path number or numerology. There's many symbols to numbers and letters in general. So that's one of the big reasons why Plaza is so special to this day, because people can tell their story in one clip of a charm, you know. The other thing that's so good about them, and you know, these are vintage charms, but I consider this sort of in the Plaza collection also because you can add them to the chains. And the key innovation that we've been doing for years is this little clip, this amazing mechanism, and it's inspired by Victorian pocket watch chains. You know, the guys used to put a chain across their watch and clip the charm onto their buttonhole or whatnot. So we created this mechanism, and this is on all of our charms and Plaza. And why it's so great is you literally just
Yeah.
pop it on, and you can transform any necklace or bracelet. Like I have a charm clipped right onto my bracelet here. And it makes the client the designer.
Mm.
That's why I love it so much because I feel like the Plaza collection empowers my clients to do whatever they want with it. You know, they can put the charm on their keychain, on their bag charm, on a necklace, change it from your gold chain to the brass chain. You know, there's like endless possibilities when these pieces become interchangeable. And I think that's a big part of why Plaza is continuing to be exciting and evolve. Because I just designed some new chains and I add in some fun charms and then it feels fresh again, you know?
Yeah,
I,
complete.
I love Plaza. It's great.
That in the boutique as well, like a whole section for someone to choose different.
Yeah, we're gonna have a really easy, like almost a menu, like a bar. You can create your own Plaza cocktail, you know? So
Of
you
it.
can choose your chain, step one, then you choose your charms, step two, and step three is you put it together and, you know, make it your own. And I love to help people style it and decide, you know, many ways they could wear it. But oftentimes the clients, they know, like they're just like, oh, I love this silhouette. I want a longer pendant. I need something long. I'm trying to, you know, I have my jewelry wardrobe on lock, but I'm missing a chunky chain, you know. So they come to me for that and we can create something that no one else has with
Yeah,
this kind of cocktail bar step. So it's really fun.
that's what's really nice. You can definitely customize it to you, who you are as a person. So
Exactly. Yeah. And grow it over time. Like what one thing I care a lot about and I try really hard to offer is a good value. Like you know, I feel like fashion can get exorbitant and it's a little bit audacious, you know, and I try to keep prices fair. And I love this idea that you can buy one chain from us and keep refreshing it with other charms again and again if you don't want to keep buying new necklaces, you know. Or oftentimes people will buy a charm from me and put it on a chain that they have already. And I'm thrilled with that. You know, I love that combination because then the jewelry is even more meaningful to that person, you know?
especially if they're clipping that on, it means that they want to wear that piece. That's so nice. Oh, I can't wait. I definitely will come out there to see it because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love new boutiques. That's like one of my favorite things to do is to shop boutiques. I really it's my thing.
Well,
So
you're welcome anytime. And I want to ask you advice because you had a boutique and I'm like, what am I doing? You know? But it's exciting to try some new stuff too. You know, here I am, I'm 42 and I'm basically embarking on another iteration of the same career, you know, and I've also been doing a lot of painting lately and I'm a weaver, I paint, I like creating art too. And, you know, maybe I'll put some of it for sale in the boutique. You know, you can't be scared. You can't hold back your dreams, I think. And I'm really grateful that the store is kind of, you know, it's such a new experience that it's helping me think in a new way.
good.
Like I don't have to just do everything the same. I can try new things also. So it's never too late.
No, it never is, and it's actually I feel like the best time because you have the experience, you know, that you've gone through and you've seen different things and transitions and changes in the world and in
Yeah.
the industry. I one of my favorite things about a boutique is customers, like talking to customers because they will or what they shop for sometimes it's like you'll see them pick up something that you love and you're like, oh yes, I knew that was going to be the thing. And then other times you see them pick something up that you're maybe questioning or you didn't think was a big deal and
Mhm.
it sells out or everyone loves it. And that those are the times when that happens. I'm always like, oh wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Exactly. It's like you discover
Yeah,
what's cool through your customers' reaction. So it's this like really cool feedback loop.
great.
You try to give them the thing that you're interested in that you think is fabulous. But then, like just today, I wore these jeans that I want to bring into the store. They're this cool brand Crop, Krop. She works out of Montauk, I think. And she like dyes these vintage jeans in like a tie-dye pattern. They're just beautiful. I wore them, and the first three people I saw were like, cool jeans. I love those, you know. And it's just that fun feedback loop where you're like, ah, yes, I was, on to the right aesthetic for this group of people, you know.
No, that's the best feeling I think that you'll come across, or for me at least.
Yeah, I love that.
This whole conversation, I mean, I can go on and on. I feel like, we'll have to talk again maybe, but um, where can everyone find your brand, the website, social media, all of that? Where can that, I'll
Yes, absolutely.
too, but let them know.
Sure, thank you so much. Well, lulufrost.com is our site, and on Instagram we're Lulu Frost. TikTok, very small presence, Lulu Frost NYC. There's a couple weird, bizarre videos on there that we tried to make. That is one big challenge is maintaining everything. So we have a TikTok, but really Instagram, Lulu Frost is where you'll find us. And if you're in Huntington, come soon to visit our store, Lulu Frost and Co.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, I'm gonna put all of that in the description, and everyone can
Thank,
go through and find out more about you. And I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation. I certainly did.
thank you.
I love this time with you, Lisa. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn. You're such a lovely person, and I'm so honored to be on your show. I'm a big fan myself, and everyone watching out there, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you enjoyed our chat. And contact me. I do the DMs myself, so you can write on Instagram if you want to ask anything or say anything. I'll be there.